What if I told you that God commands us not to help certain kinds of people? Would you believe it? It almost sounds wrong to say that. We often hear that a Christian must help everyone, say yes to every request, and never refuse to lend a hand. But when you read the Bible carefully, you discover something surprising. God doesn't approve of every kind of help. In fact, there are certain types of people that, when you help them, you are actually disobeying the Lord and even putting your own life at risk. Stay in this video until the end because I'm going to show you exactly who these people are. 1. The manipulator. Proverbs 12 verse 22 says clearly, "Lying lips are abominable to the Lord, but those who act faithfully are his delight." Look at the word God uses, abominable. Manipulation isn't just a personality trait or emotional need. It's sin. God doesn't pity lies. He despises them. And when you support someone who lives by deceit, even without realizing it, you're not helping, you're sponsoring their sin. The mistake many Christians make is thinking that loving others means saying yes to everything, believing we must fix everyone's problems. But that's not true. Jesus didn't do that. Once a man said to him, "Teacher, tell my brother to divide the inheritance with me." And Jesus replied, "Man, who made me a judge or divider over you?" Jesus refused to get involved. He didn't let people push him into roles that weren't his. He knew exactly when to help and when to say, "This isn't for me." So understand this once and for all. If someone only remembers you when they need something, if they guilt-trip you with phrases like, "If you were really a Christian, you'd do this for me," that's not a cry for help, it's manipulation. Helping manipulators doesn't free them. It only strengthens their control over you. Sometimes the most biblical act is not to extend your hand, but to set boundaries. Love doesn't mean saying yes to emotional blackmail. To the lazy person. Many Christians think they're doing charity when they're actually interfering with God's discipline. I'm not talking about people facing real hardship. Those who are unemployed, struggling, or rebuilding their lives deserve help, encouragement, and prayer. But the problem is with those who refuse to take a single step forward yet expect life to move on. They always ask for prayer but never kneel to pray themselves. They always ask for help but never lift a finger to help themselves. Paul said in 2 Thessalonians 3 verse 10, "When we were with you, we gave you this rule. If anyone is not willing to work, let him not eat." Notice, it says not willing, not unable. There's a huge difference. Some people suffer for reasons they can't change, but others suffer because they choose not to make an effort. You help them thinking they'll change, but they don't. They come back again and again. Eventually, you realize they're not stuck in hardship. They're comfortable in the dependency you've created. Paul even says some people were idle, not working, yet meddling in others' affairs. In other words, the lazy don't have energy to work, but always have time to gossip. If you're carrying someone who refuses to walk, stop helping. Not to abandon them, but to let God do what you've been preventing. Sometimes the fall you're trying to stop is exactly what God will use to wake them up. 3. The repetitive fool. This person drains your patience. Unlike the lazy, they seem to want help. They listen, agree, even cry, saying, "This time it'll be different." But a week later, they're back in the same mess with the same excuses. You pray, give advice, share verses, send sermons, but nothing changes. They don't want transformation, they want relief. They want you to be their spiritual rest home, a place to recover between one fall and the next, without ever truly repenting. Proverbs 26 verse 11 describes them perfectly. As a dog returns to its vomit, so fools repeat their folly. It's harsh but true. Some people leave a toxic relationship only to enter another just like it. They escape debt only to start spending again. They confess sin but make no effort to change. They don't want freedom, they want anesthesia. Should you keep helping them? The biblical answer: help those who want to abandon sin, not those who just want temporary relief. If you keep rescuing them, you're no longer a helper. You're a lifeguard for someone who likes drowning. Proverbs 23 verse 9 warns, "Do not speak to fools, for they will scorn your prudent words." Don't waste your energy on those who don't want change. While you're trying to save someone who resists God, There's another nearby who truly wants transformation, but you can't see them because you're too busy saving the wrong person. For the proud person. If the fool drains you with repetition, the proud person drains you with resistance. You show them scripture, they argue. You warn them, they roll their eyes. They want help, but on their terms, without admitting fault. They want healing without confessing sickness, change without humility. James 4 verse 6 says, God opposes the proud but gives grace to the humble. Look at that, God opposes. That means he resists them directly. So if even God isn't helping the proud because they refuse humility, who are you to try? Proverbs 26 verse 12 says, Do you see a man wise in his own eyes? There is more hope for a fool than for him. It's easier to reach a fool than a proud person. A fool still knows they need help. The proud think they're fine. They're not just in error, they're convinced their error is truth. And someone who thinks they're fine will never seek change. Remember the rich young ruler. Jesus showed him the way, offered him a chance to follow, but he chose pride and wealth over humility. He didn't just walk away sad. He walked away enslaved to his own ego. And Jesus let him go because some people only learn after they lose. 5. The quarrelsome. This doesn't refer to those who defend truth boldly, but to those who stir up conflict wherever they go. They fight at work, argue in traffic, cause division in family and church. They're never wrong, always the victim. You, with a kind heart, try to calm things down. You defend them, take their side, thinking you're being a peacemaker. But before long, they're in another fight. Why? Because they don't want peace, they crave attention. Proverbs 19 verse 19 says, A hot-tempered person must pay the penalty. Rescue them, and you will have to do it again. If you keep putting out fires they start, get ready for more tomorrow. The Bible is clear. Don't help the quarrelsome. Let them face the consequences of their own chaos. Sometimes discipline doesn't come through hugs, but through consequences. If you keep rescuing them, you stop being a peacemaker and become an enabler. It's not love to protect someone from the fruit of their actions. Sometimes the best help is to step aside and let God deal with them.